As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and coming to you today from the great state of Texas. So I am here visiting some good friends, including Don Huffines and the Huffines for Liberty Foundation. He's been a guest on this show quite a bit, and always love him. So go to the Huffines for Liberty Foundation website. You can see all about what we are trying to accomplish here in Texas and for the overall conservative movement. So there's a lot of policy issues to discuss, a lot of things we can actually agree on. But today I want to talk about what we disagree on. There is a huge war coming up in the 2024 primary. Of course, I'm talking about Trump versus DeSantis, or really Trump versus anyone besides Trump. How do we as conservatives, and especially Christians, look at this upcoming primary battle in the light and the lens of free and fair elections, of election integrity, and of this question of loyalty surrounding Donald Trump? Well, I'm going to give you my opinion. I know a lot of you are not going to like it. I think some of you hopefully will stick with me through the program and at least listen. But I'm going to give you my thoughts on the question of loyalty and the question of Trump versus DeSantis right after this. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you. So how do we as conservatives handle the Trump versus anyone else 2024 primary? Now, I'm talking to everyone who is going to vote for someone other than a Democrat. Everyone who recognizes that Joe Biden should not have even been in office for a first term, much less a second term, and everyone who recognizes that our country cannot survive another 4 years of a terrible leftist Democrat agenda. So this is now going to be a very ugly primary because it is Trump versus anyone else. Now, most people think, and probably rightly so, it's going to be Trump versus DeSantis. Now, as of the moment of this recording, DeSantis has not announced, but I think everyone expects him to. Certainly Donald Trump expects him to. So, of course, the ultra MAGA base, and I say that with love and affection, the base who is severely loyal to Donald Trump thinks, and perhaps rightly so, that Donald Trump should and is entitled to receive another 4 years and a second term, because he should have gotten a second term in 2020. Everyone's concerned about election integrity, all of those things. Well, the fact remains that this is an open primary. And even in 2020, the incumbent isn't just entitled to receive the nomination, even though generally speaking, that's the status quo and it's expected. And so no one even ran against Trump in 2020 because they knew that he was going to get the nomination, or nobody serious anyways. Well, in 2024, it's going to be very different. We already have several announced candidates, and likely Ron DeSantis is going to jump in. So according to the MAGA base, that makes Ron DeSantis, if and when he announces, disloyal. Well, let's talk about what that means for a second. What is a duty of loyalty when we look at the 2024 primary? Well, I think we first have to ask and answer the question, what do we truly believe as conservatives about election integrity? If we are going to say that we care about free and fair elections, then we need to genuinely care about free and fair elections, including an open primary. And we need to recognize and accept the fact that the Republican nomination for 2024 is an open primary. Donald Trump is not currently the incumbent, and whether or not you and I believe that he should be entitled to a second term, as far as our law is concerned, as far as free and fair elections are concerned, he isn't genuinely entitled. So he has to persuade voters, like any other candidate, that he's the best person for the job. So when it comes to this persuasion, he's suggesting that loyalty means anyone who worked for him previously, anyone that he previously endorsed, anyone who he helped whatsoever, including Ron DeSantis, owe this duty of loyalty. Well, duty of loyalty, when we're talking about that in legal terms, usually means a fiduciary responsibility and obligation to a principal. So when you're talking about a business administration context, there's a duty of loyalty that is owed by, for example, a board to their shareholders. They are representing, when they take a position on a board, that they're not going to act against their shareholders' interests. And in fact, at times, that breach of duty can result in a legal liability and other kinds of contracts disputes. And so a duty of loyalty becomes very serious in that type of fiduciary responsibility context. But here we're talking about a presidential campaign. We're also talking about politics. So where loyalty comes into play in the sense of politics is really just a request from President Trump to recognize that maybe he's helped some people in their political careers, like Ron DeSantis, who I think it's true that an endorsement from Donald Trump got him over the line in 2018. But what about ever since then? So Ron DeSantis has become a national figure based on how he has handled the office of governor in the state of Florida. He's been probably the most popular Republican governor in America because of the wins that he's been able to accomplish really on his own with the state legislature, of course, in the free state of Florida. So how long does this duty of loyalty last? Well, of course, Donald Trump would suggest as long as I want it to last, right? Well, I think that we need to, as Americans who understand what free and fair elections actually mean, say, okay, that request is up to the person, the requestee, to acknowledge it or not. In my view, what a duty of loyalty genuinely means to a person like Donald Trump and in a political context, the people who are disloyal to Donald Trump are the people who have worked for him in a private capacity, whether it's during his administration, in his business organization, or on his campaign, so myself included, because of course I was personal counsel to him and also was a lawyer and a senior legal advisor on his 2020 campaign. I am not going to go out like Stephanie Grisham, for example, who's the press secretary, and write a tell-all book and slam my former boss and suggest that I'm going to provide insight into all of the things that we disagreed with and all of the things that I think the American people should know about how terrible of a boss he was and all of these things out of some sort of personal vendetta or whatever her reasons were. I think that genuinely is being disloyal. I also think it's incredibly unprofessional. And I also think that there are non-disclosure agreements and other things in place, rightly so, because it protects the privacy of a principal like Donald Trump to be able to talk to his advisors, to be able to talk to the people who work for him and expect that they have that duty of loyalty and duty of privacy in return. There are things that I observed during my time with President Trump, with other people and conversations and other things that I would never disclose, because whether or not the law explicitly says I have a duty of loyalty, and of course, the legal attachments as a former client, those things are different in terms of my professional obligations. But even if there was no legal requirement whatsoever attached to me or anyone else who worked for Donald Trump, I think it would be unprofessional and frankly disloyal to go out for my own personal advantage and for whatever reason talk about those things. And so the people like, I don't even know that one girl's name who used to work in some capacity for the First Lady, for Melania Trump. And she wrote this tell-all book, Melania and Me, I think was the title. And she goes and tries to, really disparage the former First Lady. That's so unprofessional. That is disloyal. But it's not disloyal to run for an open office in the United States on the local level or the federal level, regardless of who has helped you get there. All of us could say we are not at the position we are at without help along the way. There are tons of people that have helped me throughout my career, through my legal career, through my media career. And I don't even like to call it a career. I think of it more as a ministry. And I've had the opportunity, of course, to work for President Trump, which was an honor of a lifetime. But I don't think that that obligates me after leaving that role, which, by the way, will dispel a few myths. I was never fired by Trump. My conclusion of representation ended when he left office and when the Trump campaign in 2020 winded down, just like a bunch of other people. Our roles simply ended. And then I haven't worked for him and taken another job with him in the last 2 years. Life goes on, people move on. Just like Kayleigh McEnany, who was the former press secretary. She took a job at Fox News. People are now accusing her of being a grifter or being disloyal because she interviewed the First Lady of Florida, Casey DeSantis. She works for Fox News. Now, whether you love or hate Fox News, she has an obligation and a duty and responsibility to do her job to her current employer. That's not grifting. That's not being disloyal. That's not doing anything other than recognizing that her role and her responsibility shifted. Now, I give a lot of credit to Kayleigh McEnany that I have never heard her say one thing negative in her personal opinion about Donald Trump during the time that she worked for him. I think that that is incredibly classy. I think that that's professional, and I think that's being loyal. Now, does that mean that she can't comment on future actions of President Trump or how his campaign is running now or other candidates that may come up, whether it's DeSantis or someone else, in her capacity as an anchor and as a political commentator on a mainstream conservative network? Well, no, and we shouldn't expect that. She's not there on Fox News in her capacity as former Trump anything or as current Trump anything. She is there, and she got there, maybe after she worked for Trump, but that doesn't mean that now Trump owns her for the rest of her entire career any more than he does anyone else who worked in his administration or on his campaign. So we have to, as Americans, recognize that this duty of loyalty and this request from not just Trump, but also the entire MAGA base, and this criticism of anyone who would even remotely look like we are objective and calling balls and strikes in the media is actually incredibly dishonest. And I think that the MAGA base that very rightly, as is their right to love and support Trump no matter what he does, fine. But I actually don't think that this is going to be helpful to Trump's campaign overall. I don't think it will be persuasive. And I think a lot of people are really frustrated by how the attacks of DeSantis, who isn't a candidate yet. I know that a lot of people are saying, oh, he's running a shadow presidential campaign, et cetera. Well, I would remind you that Donald Trump did the same thing for 2 years when he was at events that I was present at. And he was saying, well, I'm not going to make this announcement here that I know everybody wants me to make. And he referenced campaign finance, he referenced rules, but, I think you're going to be very happy soon. I mean, he was all but saying he was running. He didn't say he was running, so therefore he wasn't actually a candidate until the moment he announced. Well, that's the same thing for DeSantis. And whether or not people like that, those are the rules. And do we or do we not believe in election integrity? Do we or do we not, as conservatives, believe in the rule of law and in fundamental fairness? And I find it really remarkable that the Trump 2024 campaign, and I'm not attributing this specifically to Donald Trump, but more of the influencers and perhaps even the official campaign Twitter accounts that are attacking Ron DeSantis with factually false information. Like today, this is something that the Trump War Room tweeted out just a couple of hours ago. Governor Ron DeSantis launches month-long taxpayer-funded presidential campaign travel schedule. Well, that's factually false. And I actually confirmed this with the DeSantis campaign. The Florida taxpayers are not paying for any of his travel. Now, anything that is actually head of state, official state business, like he has an upcoming trip to Israel, that, of course, is paid for by the state because he's conducting state business. But everyone knows any elected official, whether it's a member of Congress or especially a head of state, this was true for President Trump when he was in office and he was head of state. They have a political arm as well, whether it's a political action committee, it's an actual campaign. It's this book tour and some of these other funds that are not taxpayer funded. There is a clear separation. So, for example, when Trump was in office, when he would go to rallies and do all these other things, even though he used Air Force One, for example, the campaign would pay for all of that, and it was not taxpayer funded. And in fact, people on the left were suggesting that this was all taxpayer funded. People were suggesting my role was taxpayer funded. I didn't work for the administration. I worked for the campaign and for him personally. My paycheck came from the campaign, not taxpayers. So these types of attacks I find very disingenuous, and I don't think that they're going to ultimately work for Donald Trump because, as my friend John Cardillo tweeted, he said in response to the Trump War Room's tweet, he said, quote, "This is a flat out lie. DeSantis is on a book tour." You would think Trump, who has repeatedly been the victim of institutions weaponized by political opponents, would be the last guy to try to weaponize institutions against a political opponent. But here we are. So I tried to also correct this with the Trump War Room, and then they quote tweeted with a snarky remark instead of actually correcting their factually false information. So according to the campaign, it is the DeSantis campaign side, or the political arm side, because he's run 2 gubernatorial campaigns, right? They have said that none of this, other than his state trip to Israel, are taxpayer funded. So instead of the Trump War Room and the Trump campaign correcting this and saying, oh, we've just delete the tweet or issue a correction, they're doubling down and they're using some of these kind of petty personal attacks instead of recognizing that anyone other than the base. I mean, sure, the base is going to absolutely love Trump no matter what he says. But my concern for Trump is that if he actually wants to convince the average voter, and if he actually wants to convince people, even like me, who love him, support him, used to work for him, I don't want to see these types of outright, petty and provably false types of smears against Ron DeSantis, because I didn't like it when the left was smearing Trump with the same types of attacks in 2020 and 2016. I mean, part of my role and responsibility when I was working for Trump was to call out some of these malicious sorts of attacks as false and to say, no, here's the real info about what's going on. So I'm concerned that we are so far beyond the pale in our political rhetoric and our political warring that truth doesn't matter and that facts don't matter. But they still do. And I think that the MAGA base would be really, really wise to understand that not everybody is just going to be a diehard Trump supporter, regardless of what he says and regardless of what his campaign pushes out and regardless of what, some of these influencers that may or may not be paid, but they're trying really hard to get Trump's attention, that just look really, really embarrassing on Twitter. That is not going to convince the people that you need to convince for Trump to ultimately win a general election. And that's what I'm concerned about. I am concerned that our political rhetoric has gone so far off the deep end that we are so siloed into tribalism of whether it's Trump or someone other than Trump, that we are no longer concerned with truth telling, with fact finding, and with doing elections freely and fairly. And that should concern all of us who are advocates and champions for free and fair elections. So for what it's worth, and I know that, I'm probably going to get a lot of response from, the MAGA crowd saying, oh, you're just, you're a rhino. You never liked Trump to begin with and blah, 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 blah. Well, again, that's just proving my point. If you come at me when I'm saying, I think that we need to elevate our political discourse, and I think that we need to steer clear of some of these false accusations, and we need to, I just don't think that this is going to be helpful for Trump. And you come at me with, well, you're just a rhino, then that's just ultimately as ineffective as exactly what I'm calling out. So the overarching message, and something I really wanted to talk about today, is to encourage everyone to actually look for the facts, because I have not endorsed anyone. And my role now is independent media. I have a radio show on American Family Radio Network, and I have this podcast that you're listening to on the Salem Podcast Network, and I'm a contributor to a couple of other news and commentary organizations, and go on a lot of media. And I am speaking just for myself and my opinions. So I have not endorsed anyone. I would like to see how this goes, and I think that currently, how Ron DeSantis is being treated by the Trump camp is genuinely unfair. And it's very interesting to me to see how the same types of attacks that Donald Trump didn't like against him, he's willing to perpetuate against Ron DeSantis. I don't think that that is going to ultimately work to his advantage. And I'm not saying anything, against Trump personally. I'm never going to say anything against Trump personally during, the tenure that I worked for him. I love and respect him. All that's well and good. But what I'm saying is that this primary, Trump is going to have to convince more voters than just the ultra MAGA base to support him. And this type of rhetoric is not going to do the job. And they can point to any polls that they want, but DeSantis hasn't even announced yet. And my prediction right now is that you are going to see a lot more former Trump supporters endorse Ron DeSantis if and when he actually announces than a lot of people expect. And I think a lot of people are just really over some of, the petty sort of sanctimonious remarks. And I just don't think that that is going to play well for him. But, but it's up to him how he wants to run this. I just think that we as conservatives, including MAGA and, from MAGA all the way to Never Trump, we all need to elevate our discourse, and we all need to be focused on facts and truth seeking and looking at who is the best person for the job. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy is doing an excellent job at focusing on the issues, not getting bogged down in this political rhetoric. And I think he's doing a great job on actually elevating what matters to political discourse. So probably for the most part, my plea will fall on deaf ears, but we have to at least suggest that, because as truth tellers, as fact finders, and as people who care about free and fair elections in this country, I really care that the people on the Republican side are elevating their discourse and, not having these types of attacks. Now, Trump, of course, even in 2016 was, doing the nickname thing and the whatever, and fine, that's who he is, and that's fine. And whether that plays to some people in a positive way or a negative way, that's up to him. But I'm just talking about things that are genuinely provably false, like the DeSantis campaign telling me today and confirming to me today that it is factually false that Ron DeSantis is having Florida taxpayers pay for his book tour. That's just not true. And I don't think that needs to be anywhere in our political discourse, or the fact that, the allegations that Soros has endorsed DeSantis, that's not true. And listen, I'm not just defending DeSantis. If his campaign or, his state office, but generally it's a campaign side, says anything that's factually false against Trump, I'll be the first one to call that out too. I mean, we need to, as conservatives, be concerned about, okay, what exactly is being alleged here, and what is the truth, not just being so siloed into knee-jerk defending or rejecting anything that Trump says, or defending or rejecting anything Ron DeSantis says, or any other politician. We need to be principled over politician or party. So that's my message today. And I hope that for what it's worth, we can elevate the discourse a little bit. And I do have to say, I think that Ron DeSantis is coming out looking very much a statesman in all of this, because he's not just running to the media to respond to every news item or every attack or every, anything. He's just conducting the business of Florida. And then when he's asked in the press, he's responding directly to questions and not deflecting, giving robust responses. And that's what you want a statesman to do. So I'm very impressed by that. And I think a lot of people are. And so it's going to be a really interesting 2024 primary. We have a long way to go. I think this is going to be nasty. I think it's going to be a lot of mudslinging. But I want to go on record today saying I hope that we can all be fact finders, truth seekers, and elevate the political discourse just a little bit. Well, friends, you must start taking care of your liver now more than ever. Why? Well, because the latest data from the American Heart Association indicates that adults with fatty liver were 3.5 times more likely to have heart failure than those without. The American Liver Foundation says that 100 million Americans have fatty liver, which means many people are still at risk. We throw everything at our livers: cholesterol, alcohol, toxins, Tylenol, statins, cigarettes, you name it. That's why so many of us have a sluggish, fatty liver that makes us gain weight and lose energy. For decades now, your liver has helped you with over 500 key functions every day. So it's time to help your liver and give back. Here's the solution: Liver Health Formula, an all-natural supplement which contains 12 clinically proven biobotanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. Manufactured right here in the USA and approved by American doctors. You can try Liver Health Formula and receive 5 free gifts when you order today. First, you'll receive a free bottle of nano-powered omega-3 to keep your heart healthy. You will also get 4 free ebooks to support every aspect of your health. So try Liver Health Formula today by going to getliverhelp.com/Jenna and claim your 5 free bonus gifts. So that's getliverhelp.com/JENNA. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you.
Have you ever picked up a towel set because it felt so soft in the store, but then when you leave and you go to use it, it's not really that absorbent? It's basically a towel that is leaving you out to dry. That's why MyPillow has developed the MyPillow towels that actually work. I know, it's totally mind-blowing. Towels that actually dry you. Their 6-piece towel set includes 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. They come in a variety of colors, I have the sage green and the white. I love them. And right now you can receive a 6-piece set for only $39.98 with promo code Jenna. That's JENNA. So go to mypillow.com right now and click on the radio listeners special. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty and have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So to receive this amazing offer on the 6-piece towel set of MyPillow towels, just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener special, and enter promo code Jenna, that's JENNA, or call 1-800-564-8475. That's mypillow.com, promo code Jenna.